Let's be real, feeling broke in America is way too common. You work hard, maybe even put in extra hours, but somehow your bank account just doesn't reflect it. It's like money just disappears the moment you earn it. I've been there, and I know how frustrating it is to feel like your efforts aren't paying off. And the worst part? Most of us don't even realize that some of the money traps keeping us broke are habits we think are harmless. They creep in quietly, and before we know it, we're stuck in a cycle that feels impossible to break. Before we dive deeper, I want to mention something that could make a real difference in your financial journey. Now let's talk about these money traps. Credit cards are a big one. It's so tempting to swipe for anything and everything, especially when you don't feel the cost immediately. I've been there. Swiping for dinners, new clothes, little splurges here and there. Then I'd check my balance and bam, hundreds of dollars in debt, with interest piling up faster than I realized. It felt like I was throwing money away every month just trying to keep up with minimum payments. Here's the trick I learned. Only swipe if you have a clear plan to pay it off within the month. If I know I can't pay it off by the due date, I don't swipe. And if you're already in debt, consider the snowball method. This involves paying off the smallest balance first while making minimum payments on larger debts. It helps you build momentum, and watching those balances disappear is incredibly motivating. The key is to stay disciplined and avoid adding new debt as you work through your plan. Another sneaky trap is subscriptions. They seem small and harmless, but they add up fast. I once did the math and realized I was spending over $200 a month on things I barely used. Streaming services, apps, even a gym I never went to. It felt like I was just burning money every single month, and I didn't even notice until I added it all up.
Don't fall into the buy now, pay later trap. It's a short-term convenience with a long-term cost. You want the real better for you option? Buy now, pay now. With money that you actually have, that you budgeted for, because you have healthy spending and saving habits that make Uncle George and future George proud.
Take a few minutes to review your subscriptions. If you haven't used something in the last month, cancel it. And for the ones you do use, check for cheaper plans or see if you can share costs with a friend or family member. I also recommend setting a reminder on your calendar to review subscriptions quarterly. It's a great way to ensure you're only paying for what truly adds value to your life.
If you're using buy now, pay later schemes, please just stop. Sure, being able to buy something right now and pay for it later down the line or in 3 smaller payments sounds pretty good, but what's the catch? Buy now, pay later schemes know that we want to buy things that we can't afford, so they make it really easy for us to give into temptation and spend more money than we have in our bank accounts or that we plan to spend in the first place. In case you can't see the issue with that, this kind of spending behavior can very quickly land people into debt, can damage people's credit scores, and is overall just a really poor financial habit. Putting financial needs aside, if you can't afford to buy something outright, then you simply can't afford it, and you should really consider whether buy now, pay later is therefore the right option.
Payment plans like buy now, pay later are another trap to watch out for. They make purchases feel affordable in the moment, but the payments linger for months. I learned this the hard way after buying a phone with a payment plan. At first, it seemed like a small, manageable expense, but as the months went on, I realized I was still paying for it, and it felt like the phone wasn't even new anymore. It was a frustrating reminder of how these plans can weigh down your finances. Now, I avoid those plans unless it's absolutely necessary. If I can't afford something outright, I wait and save up. And if it's a large purchase I really need, I make sure I have at least half the cost saved before I buy. This approach has saved me so much stress and regret over the years. Weekends can also be a financial danger zone. It's easy to justify spending more because you've worked hard all week and feel like you deserve to treat yourself. I used to spend way too much on weekends. Going out, ordering takeout, buying new outfits. By Monday, I'd be wondering where all my money went and feeling guilty about it. To fix this, I started looking for fun but budget-friendly activities. Instead of pricey outings, I'd host potlucks, attend free events, or have movie nights at home. I even discovered free outdoor events like concerts in the park, which became a great way to unwind without breaking the bank. If you're trying to save money, take a closer look at your weekend habits. They might be adding up more than you think. Cars are another area where people often overspend. I remember being tempted to buy a newer, flashier car when I was shopping for my first vehicle. It would have been nice, sure, but the high payments and insurance costs just weren't worth it. Instead, I chose a reliable, used car that fit my budget, and it's one of the best financial decisions I've ever made. The lesson here is to prioritize reliability over appearances. A fancy car might look great, but the financial freedom that comes with lower payments is so much more valuable.
If you've been investing for your retirement, great job. That's something that everybody needs to do. But are you making this big mistake that could be costing you thousands, if not millions, of dollars eventually? So let's say this big circle is your retirement account, your 401k, your Roth IRA, your taxable brokerage, whatever retirement account that you have. And say when you're paid, you put money into that account.
Ask yourself if you're buying something because you truly need it or because you want to impress others. That mindset shift can make a huge difference in your financial life. Not having an emergency fund was another mistake I made. I thought I could just rely on credit cards if anything unexpected happened. But when my car broke down and I got hit with a medical bill in the same month, I realized how stressful it was to juggle those debts without a safety net. It was a wake-up call that changed how I think about savings. Building an emergency fund doesn't have to be overwhelming. Start small. Set aside $20 a week or whatever you can manage. Over time, it adds up, and having that cushion can save you from so much stress. Even just having a few $100s saved can make a big difference when unexpected expenses pop up. Payday loans are something I've avoided personally, but I've seen friends get stuck in the cycle. The high interest rates make it nearly impossible to catch up, turning a temporary fix into a long-term problem. One friend borrowed a few $100s to cover rent, and by the time they paid it back, they had shelled out nearly double in fees and interest. It's a vicious cycle that's incredibly hard to break. If you're in a tough spot, explore alternatives like asking family for help, finding low-interest loans, or even picking up a side hustle. Payday loans are designed to keep people in debt, so avoiding them can save you a lot of heartache. Social media is another sneaky culprit. I used to buy things just because I saw them trending online. Whether it was gadgets, clothes, or other items, I'd convince myself I needed them. But in reality, I often didn't care about those things a month later. They were impulse buys driven by FOMO, and they rarely brought lasting value. Now I pause before making impulse purchases. If I see something I want, I wait 30 days before buying it. Most of the time, the urge passes, and I realize I didn't need it after all. This simple rule has saved me so much money and made me more intentional about my spending. Delaying retirement savings is another common mistake. I used to think it was something I'd worry about later, but the truth is, the earlier you start, the easier it is. Even small contributions grow significantly over time, thanks to compound interest. It's like giving your future self a gift that keeps on giving. If you haven't started yet, don't wait. Open a retirement account or contribute to your 401k today. Retail therapy was a tough habit for me to break. It's easy to justify shopping as a way to lift your mood, but the happiness is usually short-lived. What's left is stuff you don't really need and a credit card bill you definitely don't want. Instead of shopping, I found other ways to feel better, like going for a walk, spending time with friends, or listening to music. These activities don't cost anything and have a lasting positive impact. And when I do want to treat myself, I set a budget in advance to make sure I don't go overboard. Breaking out of these money traps doesn't happen overnight, but being aware of them is the first step. Start by tackling one or two that resonate with you. You've got this. If you found this helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with anyone who could use these tips. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.